Back in the old days, yeah, I would get skinny John Goodman, and now I just get John Goodman.
Back in the old days, have you outgrown the Kevin James comparison? Is that what you're telling me?
Well, I met Kevin James once. It was the Eagles and the Colts, the Indianapolis Colts, at the Link. And Kevin James and Vince Vaughn, I met them both at the same time. They were there promoting the movie The Dilemma that they did together, and they had been at the Borgata the night before. So we had sent a crew over from NBC 40, and they interviewed him. And then the next day, I was up at Lincoln Financial Field, and I saw him. So Vince Vaughn couldn't have been nicer, so much taller than you think. He's like 6'5". I mean, he's really, really tall. And he was really cool because he saw my coat, and I said, hey, thanks for talking to our guys. That's all I said. And he was like, oh, yeah, Gina, Matt, like he knew him by name. And I was like, wow, that's really cool. And then later on I saw Kevin James, and I said, I attempted to take a selfie with a digital camera, not a cell phone at that point. And I remember saying to him, people say that I look like you. And he kind of arches an eyebrow, and I said to him, but now that I've met you, I said, you look way better than I do. And then he was really cool after that. So I guess feed an actor's ego, right, and you'll be okay.
Yeah, I was going to say, what incarnation of the PT was this? 2008 version, 2010 version? I mean, what version of the PT are we talking about here?
Well, Peyton Manning was still playing for the Colts and healthy, so you tell me. What year was that?
Probably about 12 or 13, maybe 11-ish and 12, somewhere around there.
Yeah, I'd say 11 or 12, so 3 or 4 years ago. But and I did subsequently find out that if Kevin James was doing that MMA movie or ninja movie that he did. Remember, he did something where he was like a teacher and he had to raise money by, doing mixed martial arts fighting or something like, or getting in the ring of combat or something like that. I never saw the movie, but I might have actually met Kevin James in arguably the best shape of his life.
Well, something to strive for there, PT, huh?
Sure, or just to be called him again. Yeah.
Well, Pete Thompson, formerly of NBC 40. Many of you will recognize his voice from his days of anchoring the sports. PT, what are you up to these days? I know you're still dabbling into sports, but we missed you here on our Tuesday with Thompson. We had to bring it back because we always have laughs, man. You are always good for a smile and a laugh.
Thank you, buddy. I'm very happy to be on, and I know that you and I are trying to connect as much as possible in regards to also dancing around the Comcast gig that I'm doing. I've been working with Comcast Sportsnet behind the scenes, so a lot of that down the stretch has been Sixers pregame and postgame live, or Flyers pregame and postgame live, and then most recently I've been working on a show called Phillies Endgame, and so I was just up there last week, and I'll be up there again tomorrow. It's games where there's a conflict on CSN, so they put the Phillies game on TCN, or the old CN8. And actually what's interesting about that is a couple things. One, I'm not at the Wells Fargo Center those nights. I actually go to a different location. There's a Comcast building on Columbus Boulevard, Delaware Avenue, if you will. Not too far, but it's not right at the well. And two, it's a whole separate, control room and studio. But last week, I was there last Wednesday and Thursday, and the big news last Thursday was when Stan Hochman had passed. And Wednesday, the program works like it goes to Phillies game, then it's Phillies postgame live. Then our program, Endgame, is just supposed to be like tweets and reactions to things that happen during the game, things that are topical. But, of course, last Wednesday night, and this was the first night I was doing it, was when Jonathan Papelbon decided to say that he didn't feel like a Philly. And I can remember driving home from, we cut back to him live, which is very rare. We don't do players in endgame. You do them in postgame. But we went back to the Phillies clubhouse and did all that stuff. And as soon as I got in the car, the first thing I thought was, well, anybody that has a sports talk radio program is thrilled that Jonathan Papelbon just did that, because there's a segment. And I listened to you the next day, and, of course, you were all over it.
I do want to talk to you about this, and yes, we were all over it, but I know, PT, from knowing you very well. And by the way, I got to talk to you. We're supposed to have dinner Thursday night, but it's raining today, which it does in South Jersey often, which wipes out a lot of baseball. And as you know, I coach baseball. Tonight was opening night for my team, but we are rained out, so any of my players or parents listening, we are not playing tonight. We had to move that game to Thursday, which means our dinner got knocked out. But I wanted to talk to you about a golf opportunity that is coming up for the two of us that we'll go into detail a little bit more for the listeners, but we're going to have something down the road where you and I are going to be able to play some golf with some of the listeners, and that should be fun. So with that being said, I want to get your thought on the Masters because I'm sure you didn't get off the couch on Saturday or Sunday.
That's correct. Now, Saturday I did get off because I played off the couch, I should say. I played in the Dean Randazzo. Oh, I should finish the sentence. I played in the Dean Randazzo Celebrity or the golf tournament, the Golf for a Cause. And those in the surfing world around here know Dean's name. They do a paddle for a cause around the bay later on in the spring or in the summer. They do a run, but Dean Randazzo is the guy that has that Jersey Devil surf shop up on the boardwalk there in AC near Margaritaville and Resorts, and that was neat. So what was cool about Saturday was I played golf, not well, but I played at Mays Landing Country Club for a charity outing, and then got to watch the Masters. I saw Phil make that putt. I thought the Masters was incredible in the fact that I couldn't believe that Jordan Spieth jumped out to such a quick lead and never let it go. You know, every time people made a run at him, and that includes Phil Mickelson, you know, and that includes Justin Rose, he never relinquished. You know, I mean, it was almost a shame that he made bogey on 18 on the final day on Sunday because that would have broken Tiger's record. You know, he would have had the lowest 72-hole score ever. But, hey, he's still the champ, and the exciting subplot that comes out of the Masters to me is that with Rory apparently righting the ship, and he appears to be back, now you've got a 1-2 again in golf of two guys that are young and hungry, and boy, that's really fun to see.
Well, I'll ask you then, because a lot of people entering was if Jordan Spieth wins it, is he the story or the fact that Tiger played well enough do you feel that? Because I think if Tiger's going to win a major, it's going to be at the Masters. I'm not sure that, you know, because he knows that course and he can, you know, study that course. The other one's moving around all the time, and, you know, I just don't feel that he's the same guy that can just come out there, and the talent separation is no longer as great as it once was. So did you watch Tiger with the thought of, hey, this guy's back, and he's a factor in this year's, you know, number one or, you know, the standings?
Well, yes, and let's back it up to Wednesday when Tiger played in the par 3 tournament, which I'm always excited to watch. He played in the par 3 contest for the first time since 96, I think, or 97, like since he won. And you know, it's a different Tiger Woods. And I think to me, he's starting to settle into this is my life and this is where I am. And, you know, he's not going to be the guy that beats the field. He's not going to go out and shoot back-to-back 64s. That's not who he is anymore, I don't think. And I don't think we'll see that again. But you lend a good point when you say, and you make a good point when you say that the Masters is his best chance for another major, because you're right. It is on the same course. It is the place that he loves the best. He's had success there. To me, the Masters is a place where every time you play the golf course, you learn something else, you know, I was just really impressed because he was so god-awful the last time he went out that I didn't realize that he'd be able to get that good that fast. But, yeah, he more than held his own, and he certainly was competitive, and those are all things that were good to see. That's good for the game because for the casual fan who has no idea who Jordan Spieth is, from Justin Rose, from Rory McIlroy, from Charlie Hoffman, you know, Charlie who? Like, they don't know who these guys are, but they certainly know who Tiger Woods is, and he was in contention.
He was, and it was good. It was a fun weekend. I enjoyed it. I do want to get your thoughts that the Flyers season is in the books. Your thoughts on Berube. I know you've been doing and producing a lot of Flyers games, and what is the scuttlebutt? Do you think Berube will be back?
Well, I didn't think he would be back, and I kept waiting for the other shoe to drop, and then I just looked on before we were coming on here. You know, you always do the scan of Twitter and is there anything breaking, and I guess Ron Hextall sent a message via the team's website to the fans that basically says we're going to stay the course. Well, does stay the course mean that they're going to keep Berube? You know, what? And they don't have to fire him yet. If they could still fire him this week, you know, if they're going to. But everybody thought for sure that was coming on Monday, and we were wrong. So that shows you how much the experts know. The big thing is that, to me, Berube has made some serious mistakes this past season, including, at one point he benched Delzato, and Delzato is one of the better puck-moving defensemen. Obviously, his failure to get any production out of Vinny Lecavalier and that battle has been another bomb in the middle of the locker room. And then, his continued blind faith in using a guy like R.J. Umberger, who it turns out was injured, had a hip injury. But, there's been some colossal mistakes that Berube has made, and his stubbornness not to even admit those mistakes are the kind of things that do get a coach fired. I don't know did you see Bob Ford's column yesterday?
I did. I did see what he had to say there. I think a lot of people, I am kind of torn because I don't think Berube's done a great job, but at the same time, he brought them to the playoffs last year. I agree with a lot of I don't like the way he handled Lecavalier late in the year, but you can't keep changing coaches every year and a half, 2 years. It just seems like you got to have some sort of stability. And in the NHL, I mean, it feels like Christmas Day. You open up your first toy, and it's like, this is great. And then 15 minutes later, you open up the next one, and that toy's out the window. At some point, some of these toys have to last you longer than 2 years.
Right, and that's why that column was so and Bob Ford, again, was the guy that wrote it. You list these names, Terry Murray, Berube, Wayne Cashman, Roger Nielsen, Craig Ramsey, Bill Barber, Ken Hitchcock, John Stevens, Peter Laviolette. If there's another coach, that'll be 10 and 20 years. That's basically one every 2 years, and it's like being the drummer in Spinal Tap. That's not a position you want.
I hear that, man. I'm very interested to see what happens here because Lecavalier, you said yesterday, I'd like to be back, but not if he's the coach because I don't want to be a fourth-line winger if I can avoid it. And I don't blame him. I thought Lecavalier should have given him a shot late in the year when they got eliminated to say, look, either this guy can still give me something or he can't, and I'm showing you what he can and can't do. Give him those last 7 games when they got eliminated to play the center up on the second line and see if he had anything left.
And I mean, perhaps Lecavalier doesn't have anything left, and maybe Berube sees that, but the fact that he doesn't explain those things, that he seems to, even when you take a shot at a guy like Mason had an unbelievable season in my mind. And when he pulled Mason in Calgary and said that the guy has to find pucks better, what are you talking about? Like at that point, to me, I think you're running scared a little bit. Or I'm so confused by how he would rip Sean Couturier, who's known as a defensive guy, and he put him on the fourth line with an injured, or the third line with an injured R.J. Umberger, and then said, well, he needs to produce more. Sean Couturier, I believe, had a career high in goals, I mean, on a defensive line. Sean Couturier's his job was to take the number one center and shut him down, like a Selke Trophy kind of guy, like shut him down. How do you want offense out of the guy that you're expecting to smother the number one guy on the other line? There's just some paradoxes that I don't quite understand. But I think they don't have to make a move today, tomorrow. I think they're waiting for some puzzle pieces to come by. What happens with Mike Babcock? Who's out there? They don't have to make a move right away. So in the meantime, I guess we all wait.
All right, Tuesday with Thompson, NBC 40, former sports director Pete Thompson. He's now doing some stuff with Comcast Sportsnet in Philly, and we'd like to keep this kind of running because I laugh when we get a chance to talk because we don't get a chance to meet up too often anymore. But I still, get a good chuckle out of hearing some of the stories from the PT. They're epic many times.
I would love to do any Tuesday you'll have me at this time, or whatever you say. You text me and let me know, and I'm in, baby.
All right, we'll reschedule for that Tuesday, maybe Friday or Saturday, because I know that probably more than having a dinner together, you probably would like to have a Shasta together.
I do like the frescas. How about a fresca? Yeah.
Hey, by the way, I know this time of the year, the PT, you are a big, you get into the shows. Are you into a show right now? Is there like something that you're watching that, because I'm looking for something.
Well, do you have Netflix?
I do.
Okay, then I would strongly urge you to watch Bloodline, because if you liked True Detective, and a lot of people did, Bloodline was very much like that, and the casting was phenomenal. It had the guy from Friday Night Lights, Kyle, the coach, and he was in Wolf of Wall Street. He played the FBI agent. Chandler, I think is his last name. It had the girl from ER, Linda Cardellini, who's also in Freaks and Geeks. It's set in Key West, Florida, and I can't remember the name of the actor that plays the key bad guy, if you will, but he's like the black sheep brother. And something happened in this family, and they run this resort down in Key West, and so the scenery is beautiful, and the plot lines are amazing, and it's like a 13-episode contained Netflix thing. Bloodline is what I watched, and I watched the whole thing, and then I'm sort of making my way on TV, like just pick up your Comcast remote. I'm totally into The Americans, and that's on FX. So I know. I turned you on to Californication a couple of years ago, and we watched the whole couple seasons of that, like in a day. We watched like 2 seasons of that one Saturday or Sunday as we were hung over on the couch. That was a way that we got through the day. But I don't have Showtime anymore. But they gave you free Showtime on the 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th, and I did not know this, so I binge watched Shameless. And it's phenomenal. At 11:59, I tried to get one more episode in, and they cut me right off at 12 o'clock. Yeah. They would not let me get. That's so funny. I didn't get a chance to get into that. But all right, PT, Tuesday with Thompson, with Pete Thompson here on the Sports Bash 97.3 ESPN. And Pete and I, we're going to collaborate on something that we'll tell you more details on in just a little bit. But you have to tune into next Tuesday with Thompson to get a little bit more info. All right? Sounds great. It's going to be fun, and thanks so much for having me again, Mike. Love doing it. Bye, Pete. All right. See you, buddy.